Title: Labeled an ugly high school grade and disowned by my family. 11 years later, I met them at my sister's wedding. Her husband asked, "You know her?" I said, "More than you think." Start: I didn't plan to see them again. But fate has a cruel sense of humor. It sent me an invitation dressed in white satin and lies. My sister's wedding. 11 years since the night they labeled me the ugly grade, the family stain, the embarrassment to hide. 11 years since my father's voice sliced through the air and said, "You're not one of us anymore." Now I was back. The ballroom smelled of expensive wine and lavender, her favorite, not mine. I stood near the edge of the crowd, unseen. That's where I'd learned to live, just beyond their gaze. Then I saw her, my sister, radiant in a gown that cost more than my first apartment. She laughed the same way she used to, head tilted back, like the world owed her joy. And beside her, the man she married, her husband, my pawn. When he saw me, his brows furrowed. "You know her?" he asked, turning to her. I smiled, slow, deliberate. "More than you think." The music dimmed in my mind, because this was where it began to unravel. Back then, I was 17, quiet, awkward, the wrong kind of daughter. My sister was the golden one, soft voice, sharp smile, and an instinct for where the knife should go. She used to brush my hair and tell me, "You just need to try harder to be likable." I thought it was advice. It was training. I loved her once, trusted her with the kind of blind devotion only the lonely can afford, until she used it. The betrayal came dressed as pity. Senior year, a rumor started that I'd slept with my math teacher, that I'd blackmailed him for grades. Lies, whispered with the precision of a surgeon's blade. The school turned on me. My parents turned away. And when I found out who started it, the handwriting on the anonymous note matched hers. Perfectly. I remember confronting her. Her denial was almost convincing. Almost. But she made one mistake. She smirked. That was the moment something in me broke and reassembled sharper. They sent me away that week, to reflect, my mother said. I left with a suitcase and a silence that felt like a vow. Pain is a good teacher. It taught me patience. It taught me to listen longer than I spoke. And over the next 11 years, it taught me how to build an empire from ruin. I changed my name, but not my ambition. Graduated top of my class. Became a forensic accountant, someone who sees patterns in numbers, lies in ledgers. I learned how people hide things, especially money, especially secrets. That's how I found him. My sister's fiancé, now husband. He worked at a firm that handled my sister's charity accounts. Charity, of course, was a word she wore like perfume. Pretty, expensive, and meant to mask something sour. So I watched, quietly, for months. The books didn't balance. Money shifted in and out of ghost companies. And my sister's signature, neat as ever, was everywhere. She hadn't just ruined me. She'd learned to ruin others. I built my plan piece by piece. No drama, no haste. First, I became his confidant, a whisper online, an anonymous consultant who helped him uncover discrepancies in his company's accounts. He trusted me. Greed makes people blind, and guilt makes them loyal. Then, I showed him how to trace it all back to her, not by lies, by truth. Truth is the sharpest weapon if you wield it slowly. When the moment came, I suggested he confront her. Privately, of course. He did. She cried, denied, manipulated, like always, and when that failed, she confessed, to him, not knowing he recorded it. So now here we were, a wedding built on deceit, vows wrapped around a fuse, and I held the match. The toasts began. My sister stood beside him, her hand trembling just slightly. Maybe she sensed it, The calm before collapse? Her husband raised his glass. To truth, he said, glancing my way. The projector behind them flickered to life. Her voice filled the room, clear, shaken, recorded. I only moved the money for a little while, okay? It wasn't supposed to. The crowd froze. The silence that followed was symphonic. Her father's face, our father's, turned ashen. My mother's hand went to her chest. And my sister? She looked at me, straight through the chaos. Recognition, horror, regret. Then she whispered something only I could read on her lips. You did this. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The groom dropped his glass. The sound cracked like a gunshot. They say revenge is best served cold. They never mention how warm it feels once it's done. After the fallout, after the lawyers, the disgrace, the freezing of accounts, I left the city. Quietly. No triumph. Just completion. My father called once to ask why. I told him because she taught me how. He didn't call again. Sometimes I think about that night. The shimmer of the chandeliers, the way her eyes begged for mercy she'd never given. And I remember something she once said to me, brushing my hair years ago. Family always finds a way to come together. She was right. We did. Just not the way she expected. Now, when people ask if I have family, I say yes. They live in the past, where they belong. And when I think of my sister's wedding, I still hear her husband's voice echoing, "You know her?" And my answer remains the same. Calm, certain. More than you think.